Yes.
The Molly Patriot here. It's amazing the folks that you run into when you're in Capitol Hill at the halls of Congress and they're talking about alien technology being hidden from the public. You never know who you're going to run into. This gentleman here, Chris, tell us about yourself for our audience out there in YouTube world.
Yes, hi, I'm Chris Lehto. I have a podcast called Lehto Files. I was an F16 pilot for 18 years and then fell into the UAP phenomena, really. And now here we are. I flew over from Portugal. I flew from Europe just for this. I'm super
Literally.
jet-lagged.
Did you fly yourself?
No.
So after you saw that first incident, did you decide that you weren't going to fly anymore? Kind of like the guy that goes diving into the cave and sees the animals and goes, wait a second here.
No.
Yeah, you're a pilot for...
Now, not anymore. I'm retired. Yeah, I was
Navy
in the
pilot?
U.S. Air Force.
Air Force pilot. My dad, I'm an
F-16s.
Air Force brat. My dad was stationed guarding crash sites over in Nellis back in the 60s.
Really?
Air Police, yeah.
Good.
She thinks I was probably conceived by aliens, but there's that. But
Chance.
tell me about your experience, because this is a serious sort of thing. Everybody talks about pilots are kind of, these guys are, high and tight. They've got a real good focus. How do you get over this sort of cognitive bias of, oh, this can't be real, and then all of a sudden it's as real as artillery fire at that point?
Yeah, no, well, there isn't that many pilots speaking out, to be honest.
Wow.
And so Ryan Graves and myself are really the only two podcasters I know about dedicated to UAP, at least with a fighter pilot background. So it is kind of rare, I would say. But I think pilots are considered the more credible people in our society, or among the more credible.
We would hope.
I would hope so. Yeah, so I think their testimony is really the most credible testimony we can get. I don't know what else you would expect. Is the pilots.
So is the issue here about how the military communicates this forward to Congress, and then how Congress communicates this to its citizens, or is it more a matter of how, because they need to compartmentalize this from an intelligence standpoint. Certainly don't want Russia to get the technology. They don't want us to get it. I mean, how do you sort of parse out these different issues when we're here on Capitol Hill and they're talking about that? So how deep do you go? Any thoughts on that?
I mean, my personal viewpoint is that we've essentially lost control of the military, essentially.
Wow. Yeah.
And if you look at Congress today, like Burchett and Luna were just taken off last minute off this as the co-leads. And I think it just highlights, as we're seeing now as we enter into the information age, that we're just getting more and more aware through decentralized modes of information transfer that much of it is corrupt and obviously censored. And this is just, for me, it's the core secret of what is behind a lack of transparency in governments, which has gone back to the 1500s. That when Spain and Portugal found out the world was round, right? They did not share that information. They did not share it with their people. They never told them. They just said there is a new world. Don't worry about it. Maybe even kept that secret. So I think it's just happening now. Nations are doing the same thing. That's a nice historical parallel to that. They did not tell their citizens.
They burned the people that spoke about it.
Yes. Think about it. You're not going to share the maps. Christopher Columbus, one of his key points is he had some maps, right? And you're not going to share these highly national security things. And they're going to say the same things about national security. What does it mean is really you're going to hide information to get a competitive advantage against the other nations.
This goes back to the economics of this conversation.
Yes.
Now, what about the sovereignty? So I've noticed that individual country sovereignty, a lot of times, if you look at how sort of State Department, Pentagon, so on and so forth, a lot of times, the first thing you wanted to do if they were a rogue nation, you call them a rogue nation, first thing you do is you take away their sovereignty. Now, this might sound a little conspiratorial, so bear with me if I get through this intelligently, but I'm starting to wonder, as we lose more control over the military, the Pentagon, the State Department, how do we sort of manage that problem where we become the problem? You see what I'm getting at there?
Well, I don't think the problem is that we're losing control.
Okay.
The problem is we're gaining situational awareness that we did not have control in the first place.
So we have more control in the sense that
I am optimistic now. I'm more positive now because I always suspected everything was jacked, just based on looking around and living in the world.
Sure.
And what we're seeing is it is. So I feel validated, like many other people who thought something was wrong. Something is wrong. Something's going on. Like, why is the mainstream news focused on this trivial topic that means literally nothing for the future of anyone on this planet, and totally ignoring this amazingly huge elephant in the room?
Yeah.
And so I think we're just learning more. We're just in the fighter pilot world. It's situational awareness. We call it SA, right? If you're in a fight, if you have situational awareness, what's going around you, you can Jackie Chan everybody, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't have that situational awareness, okay, how do you know what you don't know? The only time you realize you lacked situational awareness of the area is when you gain it back, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah,
you
well,
don't know
right.
what you don't know. So when you gain information back and you're blown away, you're actually just regaining situational awareness of the reality. So I think it's not like we're actually gaining more awareness of the problem that has already existed for centuries.
So what are the opportunities from that moving forward?
Transparency. The biggest thing, and the reason I'm here today and for this is it's about transparency. Because to me, secrecy is what breeds criminal elements.
Sure
if you
enough.
look at the reason that that we have such terrible criminal elements in the drug world, is because the victims in that world cannot go to the police.
Talk. Right.
They can't go to the police because they're doing something
And that's
illegal.
a hierarchical problem more than anything
So what
else.
I think is this secret programs, this secret world that is over the last multi-decades
Gets bigger.
with secrecy, you allow criminal elements to come in.
Or
Criminal elements
malfeasance,
take
if nothing
over.
else, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
The psychopaths of the world, they will go to where the power is, right? And so what happens is, I think it's just progressed to really criminal elements. My view is sunlight kills all viruses. So
I like that. Yeah.
add transparency, show everyone what's going on, and then this is how we can move forward.
So from the SA conversation to the OPSEC, how do you sort of parse that out? It's a razor's edge.
For me, it's all about, it's from a fear base.
Sure.
If you need more weapons because you're scared of someone else killing, it's all fear based. I would like us to have a more courageous outlook and be courageous and put our weapons down and prove that we can work together, basically.
Now that's interesting because when you say that, when I talk to people about aliens, I'm like, we're the trailer park in the universe. They don't want to come out here. We're too busy fighting and pissing and moaning at each other.
We don't know. We know nothing. So again, and I argue the information has been kept from us on purpose for the same reasons it's always been kept, national security. Yeah, so I would take all that stuff.
But to your point, if we do in fact come together from this and kind of get on better manners and behavior because there's something bigger than us, does that not, assuming that these aliens are not all hostile, do you ever wonder if some of them are sort of altruistic? I mean, you look at, okay, let's just say, all right, aliens. Some guys are nice, some guys are bad. Do you think this technology is the natural evolution of this, that they are altruistic? Do you think that's a natural evolution? It's kind of like the Star Trek thing all over. Are they Klingons or are they, Captain Kirk and all?
I think the information's been kept from us.
You think they know?
Any speculation? My speculation is that it's very varied and it mirrors current nature. We assume that we're different from nature. My whole view on this is that nature just continues. So it's going to
the laws of physics don't change.
The laws of physics don't change, but exactly what I was saying before is when you learn new things, you're not changing the laws of physics, but our perspective on the laws of physics changes.
Back to the aha moment, light bulb goes off.
That's it. I gotta go, guys.
Yeah,
So,
pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Look forward to, and appreciate your patience. I'm a novice. Appreciate what you do.
All right. Thank you, guys. I'm from Houston, actually.
Oh, are you? I'm done. She was just